very much. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy and excited to be here. I'm about to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart. It actually kind of, my main passion over the past 7 years or so. I'm the founder and previously the CEO of BlazeMeter. BlazeMeter was acquired by CA about a year ago. BlazeMeter was built with the developer in mind, the developer and the new tester in mind. I think 10 years ago, when everything kind of started, it was pretty obvious that software development is about to change, and the roles within the software development are also changing, right? And testing is becoming a stronger and a more significant part as part of the software development lifecycle. So when everything changes, when requirements are changing, when people are changing, processes are changing, basically you need new infrastructure. And the idea was to build a testing framework, a testing infrastructure that will be relevant to this day and age. And we hear a lot of terms like continuous testing and shift left and various other DevOps and others that basically describe the motion that we are experiencing in the world of testing and development altogether. So I'm going to talk about, the panel, going to talk about shift left testing. And for that purpose, it is my deep honor and privilege to invite Gaurav Garg from Groupon. And Moni Rajappa from GSI Health.
Thank you.
Moni, Gaurav, how are you?
Very good, how are you?
It's morning in your Israel team right now.
It is.
They're all in different time zones, isn't it?
Live the global life. It's kind of, now they're waking up in Tel Aviv. BlazeMeter originally is a company that was built in Tel Aviv. So a lot of our engineers are kind of all the way across the world. Great. So I'll soon allow you to introduce yourselves. The reason I kind of asked two of you to participate in this panel with me, because again, from our experience, shared experience, both of you are dealing with real challenges in the digital transformation. When we move from waterfall to agile, this is a journey that is not easy, right? It's not easy and it's not fast. There are tons of challenges, and I've heard each and every one of you, one obviously from the online transaction business and one more from a more traditional enterprise organization, but it's roughly the same challenges. How do we go faster? How we develop faster? How we test faster? So Moni, why don't we start with you? Feel free to kind of...
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Mani Rajappa. I'm an IT director with GSI Health. I manage the QA practice, continuous delivery, and mobile. And GSI Health is in the healthcare IT domain. So as Alan mentioned, we deal a lot with data and enterprise. So continuous testing, continuous delivery is a key integral part of what we work with.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gaurav Garg. I work for Groupon as engineering lead for engineering development tools and production infrastructure. So we are somewhat unique in the way that engineering infrastructure and production infrastructure are truly combined together, and we live and breathe the DevOps philosophy under a common organization. My role is to drive the organization that is a relatively younger organization. A lot of you are a lot more experienced and have a long history of software development and applications in your companies. But Groupon is a relatively younger company. We are just 9-year-old company. And being in e-commerce, the business has shifted very significantly in the last 10 years or so. So one of the things that I'm looking to do is drive a higher degree of engineering maturity into the organization, and that includes continuous testing, shift left principles, performance testing, customer experience focus, and everything that we see on different elements of the floor here, they're part of my responsibility at Groupon.
Thank you, Bharat. So we are about to discuss and kind of share our own each experiences about the transition to continuous testing and the transition, let's name it shift left and try to understand what it is. Kind of, I think we kind of, with Moni this morning, we kind of said that we hear a lot of terms in the industry over the years, right? And like DevOps. 4 years ago, you could have asked 2 people what DevOps mean and you got 10 opinions, right? It's kind of because everyone can put their own, way of viewing that term. So shift left is yet another term that it sounds cool, right? Everyone wants to practice it, but what does it really mean and how do we get there and more importantly, as to why. So this is kind of what we'll try to get through this in this session. So I would start with the why. Why to go, other than it's cool, common, and everyone else is doing it, but why to shift left, right? It's all about the application economy, right? The number of lines of code is going through the roof, but the test coverage is not keeping the same pace, right? It's very tough. Testing is still complex. It's still the one thing that either cause quality to go down or the release cycle kind of to not go as fast. So needless to say that to achieve better quality, you can buy maybe better tools, more up-to-date tools, use maybe open source, right? You get some level of efficiency there because you use more modern tools, but at least in my view, and I'd love kind of you to share your opinions, a way to achieve a superior test coverage is in fact by shifting left, right? It's by sharing the burden of quality with the developers and having developers join the effort of testing, therefore increasing the number of testers significantly from, let's say, 100 testers in the COE to 5,000 testers across the organization, because now every developer is in fact a tester. So this is kind of, in my eyes, what it means to shift left and the why. And I'd love kind of to get your opinion. Let's start with you, Gaurav. What does shift left means to you?
Yeah, Alon, I think you netted it out in terms of increasing the efficiency and moving the testing to as early in the life cycle of software development as possible. For us, being a young company, it's all about innovation. It's all about getting new capabilities in front of our merchants, in front of our customers. And while we do that, we want to maintain the customer experience, the availability and performance that we provide to our customers. So the two sides of this coin, which is rate of change we want to generate and the stability that we want to maintain, they kind of work against each other. The only way we can really do both is by investing more and more in testing and by doing it in a way that it's really efficient, and which is do it as early as possible in the life cycle. So to me, shift left is automate testing as much as we can, put our people who are going to produce high value testing in terms of manual testing at the place where they would really create maximum impact, be it user interface testing, mobile application testing, and things that computers are not really good at finding just yet. They will be down the road. And it's also about, like you said, shifting the burden of responsibility from a gate, which was called QA gate, to now in the beginning of how we are defining requirements and the quality there, how we are doing development and creating automated unit tests, automated API tests, automated component level tests, and then getting to a place where we are doing a continuous testing so that mean time to validate the next change is small. So next time you want to innovate, next time you want to launch a new capability, you're not taking the entire software suite through testing. Now you are just doing incremental testing, still expecting the same level of high quality result.
Makes sense? Money?
I think I have to agree with what Gaurav mentioned. It's having a suite of automated tests capable to run them early in the cycle adds a lot of value. That's the premise of continuous testing. You have to do that. And an additional flavor to it, or something I would add to it, is you should be able to determine scientifically what are the exact appropriate tests to run at the right time. Again, that will play a very key role in your continuous testing, because even though you are wanting to achieve continuous testing, your goal should be, what's my business value with this? So if you want to provide a business value with continuous testing in mind, you have to always look for quick wins. Your quick wins should be tied to appropriate tests, right time, and in an automated fashion.
Interesting. So I hear you guys, and obviously you're responding to my question, but I'm not sure the audience is aware of the challenges that you face. For example, let's start with you, Gaurav. Can you tell me if you cannot, like the number of transactions you're dealing with, and I heard something huge, right?
Yeah, so I think most of this is public information. Groupon has about 60 million customers in North America. We are rated number one a mobile app in the retail space, and we command upwards of 4.5 star customer sat rating. And that comes at a lot of focus that we put internally on quality. So I'm going to talk a little bit about performance testing, because nowadays when we use mobile apps, our threshold for wait or patience is very, very low. If something doesn't work in a few seconds, we give up and move on. So for us, we are trying to sell those restaurant deals or spa deals or goods on a mobile app, and we don't want customers to go to the next big gorilla in town who's very big. So our focus is really on providing excellent experience and great performance. And we had challenges in people process tools area. If I look back last year, we were doing testing of performance of Groupon through a centralized team. So people used to build software, and they expected that this central team is going to be responsible for performance. So you could introduce latencies in application and expect somebody else to figure it out, and by then it may be too late. We were running, from a process perspective, we were running all the tests just in production, just to focus on customer experience. And from a tooling standpoint, we had, you name the tool, we had it. We had in-house tools, we had external tools, some of CA's competition. From there, we have come a long way. Thanks to partnership with BlazeMeter, we have changed our people process tools quite significantly in the last 6 months. To give you another statistic, with BlazeMeter, we run tests that simulate 2 million transactions every minute. This is a pretty high transaction volume coming from a website or a mobile app. And we have now moved a lot of our testing to, which used to happen once every month, to once every day, or sometimes multiple times a day. This is performance testing. This is not functional testing or unit testing. This is the heavy-duty performance testing running on our production systems. We have now started moving left and have started distributing responsibilities to development and test teams so that they can perform performance testing in non-production environments. So this is where BlazeMeter is helping us come in look at the infrastructure, give us cloud and on-prem capabilities to generate the load and then produce great reports that help us take actions. So it's a journey. Being an e-commerce company, we can never take our eyes off of performance testing, but on all three fronts, people, process, and technology, we believe that we are on the right path.
Now Moni, so Guarev is kind of an e-commerce. I would dare say that GSI Health is not.
Yep, you're right. You can that too.
Yes. But you have your own challenges with a pretty big. Can you kind of share?
Sure. Our challenges, like we don't deal a lot with transactional, but our challenges mostly come into the data volumes we deal with. So we deal with healthcare data, we deal with patient data. So one is we have huge scrutiny over compliance, with complying with the industry standards, HIPAA, you name it all, anything patient related is very critical for us. So there is a lot of patient data we deal with that comes with scrutiny and compliance needs. The second thing is the volume assets. Sometimes we deal with terabytes of data of patient information. So, but we still are on SLAs to move the data sometimes in sub-second levels. So there again, we have so much importance to how we perform irrespective of the data volume we are dealing with. There we were shopping around for multiple tools and things like that, but Blaze was able to offer something to us which no other tool was able to give that, where we were able to measure performance when it's geographically diverse requests coming through. And that was very key for us, because even if we were able to perform good at a request being local to our centers, but if it's coming from an off-site location or a geographically diverse location, we still had to maintain the SLA. And that was something we were having a lot of challenges to even simulate, even create that. Like, we were not sure how are we going to do it. So there Blaze came in and helped us a lot to understand and to see how are we performing with that. So that was one challenge for us.
Great. Okay, so health, right, and insurance, e-commerce, we're trying to address a question, kind of, how do we improve our testing capabilities? Basically, how do we move from, let's say, 100 tests per month to 10,000 tests per month? So, when we mention shift left, obviously we say, okay, we move from, a point where the COE does it all, everything within the COE, to a point where we share the burden and move to the left to developers. Another key component is automation, right? It's kind of, at least kind of from where I'm coming from, you have to, when you shift left, you need to shift left and deploy a lot of automation, again, to achieve the test coverage that we all want to achieve. I know that you're doing a lot of automation in your environment. Can you share some details about your automation effort in your environments?
So it's a complex problem depending upon where you are in the life cycle of automation. For us, the skill set of teams that were doing engineering work and quality assurance work, that was not a big problem. For some of the companies who have had mature products, that could be a big problem, where you have to invest in either reskilling the team or hiring new talent or both to drive automation. I think there are three areas of focus when it comes to having good automation. One, you need to have solid test environments. You need to have ability to create test environments on demand, on which you can try out your automation, or you can run small batches of automation. Second, you need to invest in test data management. We deal with very large number of scenarios that users can take to find a deal on the site or find a spa service, and depending upon that scenario, things could go wrong. So how do we capture all those scenarios and then make sure that all that test data is getting into automation is a big challenge. So investing in that area is important. And then third is shift left in relying on developers to develop more and more unit tests and API tests. Now, there are certain applications that do not have a whole lot of APIs. We have been working on migrating from a monolithic web application that was a large Java application talking to a database to a complete microservices application. Now we have 600 microservices that all interact through APIs. So test automation also requires you to look at your underlying application architecture and drive improvements in how you can distribute responsibilities and then drive smaller parts to be tested independently. So depending upon where you are in the life cycle, that can be a complex problem. But if you break it down into test environments, test data management, test tooling and frameworks, and the people aspect of the right people at the right time, shifting the responsibilities, putting more burden on the development teams, I think those ingredients can help go from 100 tests to 10,000 tests in a month.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Gaurav. If you want to take that leap from 100 to 10,000, automation is the way to go. And you need to have the right set of people, the right mind shift. The key with automation and continuous testing is you need to get into the minds of your test engineers that they don't need to wait for an entire system to be available or a software to be available to test. You should be able to test anything which is executable. So the sooner they start and the quicker they're able to do that, you will get into the automation you want to get into. And you will start, even without you knowing, you will embark into continuous testing efforts like that. And the underlying technology and the architecture, that is also a key component of this. You need to have services to support, you need to have good APIs, and you need to get into a good rhythm of automation work. And you need to have a well-defined automation roadmap, because you need to not just go and start automating whatever you want to automate. You need to know what to automate, when to run those tests, what should be the trigger points for it, and what areas you should cover. You should have critical components, you should have PPAT scenarios, all those things you should be able to cover. So that will help you, without even you knowing, to go fast.
Nice. Okay, I have one more question for the two of you, but before I ask, that will be kind of how we end the session. I'm curious if the audience, if any of you have any question for either Gaurav or Mani. If so, feel free to raise your hand or go to the mic. Going once, going twice.
So, what would you say are the prerequisites for doing this shift left? How would you prepare your organization or your application for the shift left?
Actually, an excellent question. And that was exactly the question I kind of left to the... So, but okay, so let's do it now. So, from my experience, this transformation is a journey.
Totally.
Right? You cannot do it from its people, processes, and systems, right? And many ask that exact question. It's kind of, okay, there is the nirvana, but we won't get there tomorrow. What would be your tip for the one who asks, what do I do tomorrow to start this process?
Yeah. So I think you want to start with the areas that are low barrier for success. For example, in a highly scalable application, the web layer and the application layer is much more adaptable to automation than your backend database layer or your data systems like Hadoop or your streaming systems like Kafka and Spark and so on. So focus on the web layer, the web applications, start with the customer experience. And then at the same time, try to look at where you have interactions between applications that can be turned into a well-defined API contract, and API contracts are easy to verify. So from a tooling standpoint, you need to sort of decompose the application and look at barriers to adoption. Another one I would suggest is we want to produce tests once and run them many, many times in different environments. So the approach we have taken is we have used Docker containers for managing all of our tests. So if you put a container if I put a test in a container, then you can run the same test in your dev and QA environment, in your staging, pre-production, and production environments, and that you can reuse your tests and start to shift left in that journey. So that's another low-hanging fruit where you can start using your CI pipeline to produce test containers and start running those jobs and multiply the number of tests you run in every stage of the environment.
Moni, what will be kind of your tip for how to start the shift left journey?
I would say I'll probably put it into two tips. One is you need to have an automation roadmap. You need to know what you have to do, how do you break it down, when to start what. It's pretty much like an event processing. You need to know what are the events, when to kick off the test, when to verify what and that. The second most important thing when you're trying to make a shift left jump is always dream big, think small. You always have to do that. You have to think very small to say, what can I do very quickly? What can I do fast? And what type of a business value can I produce quicker? And that will automatically enforce you to do things in small chunks that will then make you propel faster. And once you start getting into that rhythm, when you start producing a business value in a quicker fashion, you would get your business stakeholders to start support you automatically. So and that's very key. It's not just shifting left is not just technology based. It is you need to have your business folks supporting you equally for the effort.
Nice. So allow me to share some personal experience with you. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the founder of BlazeMeter, so I've been since day zero up to this point. And there are certain moments of pride and happiness during such a journey when you build a company. The first moment is kind of when you earn the privilege, to serve such customers like Groupon and GSI Health. And the second moment of happiness is to have these guys appear with me kind of on this panel. So I'd like to thank the two of you for coming and joining me. And thank you for attending this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.